Peace, family. We are back again, and today we will be discussing one of my favorite Spike Lee films. If not, well, it is my favorite Spike Lee film of all time. Could you guess what it is? It's in the title, man. Clockers. We are dealing with the film Clockers, right? Such a special film, such a special film, and I think it went over a lot of people's heads. So, we here to break it down from a esoteric POV. I want to do this. Like, I want to decode this film because this film means so much to me personally, or even on a just a personal standpoint. I came out of hustling, right? I came from hustling, and one thing I can appreciate about this film is that it doesn't deal with, like, everybody not moving keys and bricks, and you know what I mean, because that's not the average hustler story. That's not the average hustler story. The average hustler story is, um at the bottom. You know what I'm saying? At the bottom, somewhere in the middle. You know what I'm saying? Making ends meet. You have highs and you have lows. You know what I mean? That's the game. Everybody not the plug. So, um, I appreciate that from a hustler standpoint. When I was hustling down south, you know what I'm saying, growing up, coming up, that was one of the things. We played. We up north, they played the benches. You know what I'm saying? We played the trap. We was in the trap. You know what I'm saying? Making swerves, waiting on the phone calls. You know what I'm saying? They pulled up. So, I relate with this film more than I would like a film where everybody just dealing with keys and bricks, and, like, you know what I mean, because that's not the hustler's reality. You know what I'm saying? I think 50 got a verse where he said that. You know what I'm saying? Everybody ain't fucking with keys. Some niggas got grams. That's the reality. But anyway, we're gonna deal with this film today. We're gonna break it down from an esoteric point of view. And because I think that this film really went over a lot of people's heads. I don't think a lot of people really understood all of the messages that Spike was relaying in this film. So yeah, let's get right into it, right? So the year is 1995, right? Black cinema is on the rise. Black cinema is in its golden age, I would say. Um, Spike is dropping classic after classic by this point, right? Do the Right Thing has dropped. Um, Malcolm X dropped. You know what I mean? And most people say Malcolm X is Spike's favorite, is the best film. I'm not mad at that at all. However, I just feel like this film um, does it a little bit more for me, right? Because of the esoteric angles that we are going to look into. So anyway, Martin Scorsese drops the film, the classic. Let me put a little more respect on it, right? The classic film, Goodfellas, right? He drops the classic film Goodfellas, and right after that success, he wants to create Casino, right? He wants to create Casino, but around that time, a script comes on his desk for a book, right? And that book would be the film Clockers, right? It would be the film. It would become the film Clockers. Now, Martin Scorsese is working on this huge film, which is almost like a sequel to Casino, same characters but different setting, right? Casino, and he doesn't necessarily have the time to put into Clockers like he would want to, so he passes it to uh, a young black film producer, right? That he knows, and he knows one that is so connected with the streets of Brooklyn, or with Brooklyn in general, right? New York in general, and he passes it to a young Spike Lee, right? And he says that he's going to work with Spike Lee on this. So for those that don't know, Clockers is like a Spike Lee film, but it's also a film where Martin Scorsese is heavily involved. It's almost like if you want to compare it to an album, a rap album, right? This is a rap channel. Let's do it like it's almost like a Cuban Links, right? Where you have it's a Raekwon album, but Ghostface presence is all over, right? So on this is a Spike Lee film, but Martin Scorsese's presence is still seen in the film, right? So the film goes to Spike Lee, and Spike Lee uh, does amazing. Now at this time, John Singleton had just dropped Boys in the Hood 4 years prior to this, and then you had the Hughes brothers drop Menace to Society 2 years before this, right? So, and those were huge films that kind of overshadowed this film, right? They overshadowed this film because this film comes from a different angle. Because, as I said, although those films are great and they both legendary films, um, they both legendary films. Singleton was telling the story of South Central and Black fatherhood and all of the gentrification. It was like to catch people up with what was going on, and because it had never been a film made like that at that time, right? It was never a film made like Boys in the Hood at that time. Um, Many people heard it in rap albums. You seen NWA was dropping and speaking on it, and but nobody had covered it. Colors didn't covered it briefly, but this was like a film that was Colors covered it from a police officer's angle, right? This was the first time you seen like a black inner city film that deal with the inside of the neighborhood, as far as like the fatherhood, the neighbor next door, the mom, the inner makings of what goes into this impoverished communities, and how so many lives are lost, and gentrification. It touched on a lot of things, and then Menace came out, and Menace showed you you know the super predator element, right? As Joe Biden would say, or a Hillary Clinton would say, right? The super predator, the inner city young killer, which is old dog in the film, the 14-year old young killer. 14-year old young killer in the film is a mirror of Yummy Sandifer, right? Yummy Sandifer from Chicago, the hitman, right? That Tupac made the album Me Against the World. It was inspired by young Yummy Sandifer, who was a young hitman, right? He was only 11. He was from Chicago, right? Lorenz Tate plays Old Dog. Lorenz Tate is from Chicago. He plays Old Dog, age 14, 15 in the film Innocence Society, right? Uh, so that film is indicating that these conditions have created young super predators, right? Young killers, young menaces to the American society, right? So with this film, Clockers, it's different from those two films in its own right, and I think it was strategic not to go that same route that had already been done. As Spike is one of the greatest when it comes to doing his film in a unique spectacle, right? He does it in a unique element, and some he you have to kind of look into every little detail when you watch a Spike Lee film, right? You really do. It's like a Tarantino film. Everything matters. That cigarette card matters. That billboard matters. That when they zoom into that commercial, right, it matters, right? He throws a lot of clues in there with just it's like a moving board, right? You have to pay attention to everything. So Spike is amazing at this. So the film starts with body after body, right? It opens up with deceased bodies, riddle bodies, right? Um, all over the neighborhood, right? And that alone says by itself that this is a plague that's going on in the black community, right? Homicide, black on black homicide. He doesn't need to say it, right? As far as like when you watch the film Boys in the Hood, it opens up. It says that how many black men will be killed by this age, and you know what I mean. Spike does that also with this opening with a message, right? So Boys in the Hood opens with the stop sign, right? It's a stop sign that it zooms into, and then it says how many brothers will be killed, and that's a stop. That's a stop the killing, right? That's a stop the killing message. Well, Spike does this also, but he does it in the symbolism format also, but he does it in his own way. This time he opens the film up with bullet riddled bodies all over the community, right? Showing the slaughtering of each other in the black community. And that alone says stop the violence. And, it takes us to what we're going to. And then as we go into the film, we seeing the main character, which is Strike. His name is Strike, right? Played by young Mekhi Phifer, right? This is Mekhi Phifer's first film, This is Mekhi Phifer's first film. This is the film that really put him on the map, right? So, um, Mekhi Phifer is a D boy. He a dope boy. You know what I'm saying? He got a little crew, and they play the benches in these projects in Brooklyn, right? So they play the benches all day, all night, right? They get the work from the top. They he because the plug is Rodney, right? Rodney is the big guy at the top, right? Let's say Rodney is the big guy at the top, and he passes it to when he get the work in. He passed it to the crews, right? Every crew got a leader. Strike happened to be the leader in this crew. Strike get the work. Strike break it down, give it to his guys, and the cycle keep going. You know what I'm saying? We ain't gonna deal too much with that because if you know, you know. You know what I'm saying? The cycle keep going. But Strike is his main guy, right? Strike is his main guy. Strike is his son. In the street term, Strike is his son, right? So Rodney Rodney Little is the biggest hustler in this neighborhood, right? In this whole community. And Rodney's whole thing is that what he does is he takes he finds young kids, right? He finds young kids in this community that are poor and need funds and need money and need to come up, right? And he gravitates to them. He shows them love, some type of genuine love, like he loves them, right? And in a sense, he may does, but it's an evil sense at the same time because it's a twisted agenda, right? His whole thing is to get them in, bring them in, show them love, hit them with things they like, right? Give them video games, give them rewards, and then while he's uh, breaking their building trust with them, he introduces them to the game, right? He introduces them to hustling, introduces them to carrying guns, right? Introduce them to working for him, right? So this is how Rodney Little, right, the plug, uh, met Strike. He met Strike. He met a young Strike, a young innocent Strike, right, and introduced him to the game. Took him up, cleaned him up, showed him some love. You know what I'm saying? Gave him yo, you like this? You like cars? I hit you. Here go a car. Oh, you like trains? It happened in the film. Strike is a big fan of trains, right? And that's to symbolize, him wanting to, just one day get out of these project, get out of this project, uh, this cage that they got him in, right? This community where it's like there's no escaping, right? A train just get on the train and just go. The kid who hopped on the train track and never came back. You know what I'm saying? Got tired of the bloodstained hat, sneakers with slain pats in front of the building. Um, so yeah, so Strike works for him, right? But Strike was young when he met him. Strike was a young kid, right? And he ran into Rodney Little, and Rodney Little took his innocence, right? This whole film deals with the 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 innocence being stolen by adults, by evil adults, right? In the community. All the young kids are innocent, right? They say you want to get back to when you look at the Buddha and you see the Buddha head, right? The Buddha is a baby, right? And that's what on your road to consciousness, you want to get back to that. You want to get back to that childlike essence, right? You don't want to be childish, but you want to be childlike. You want to get back to that childlike essence, in the sense of um, a child does not is not ruled by the ego, right? A child is not ruled by the ego. A child is not caught up in materialism. A child is not caught up in uh, you know the insecurities of a hairstyle or the U.S. polo versus polo, right? So uh, the child is not ruled 100% by money at all, right? So it's the adult that kills that innocence in the child, and in this film, the big time drug dealers prey on the innocence of the children in the community, right? And they steal it. So you have to understand that that's a huge element in this film. Um, Strike gets his innocence stolen from Rodney Little, right? He gets his innocence stolen from Rodney Little. Now he's out here hustling. Right now he out here hustling. He got a crew and he hustling, right? So anyway, you know, when we first see the interaction of Rodney and Strike, we see that Rodney wants Strike to, catch a body for him. He wants to catch a body for him, but Strike don't want to do it.
Right.
Strike doesn't want to do it for Rodney, but he doesn't want to tell Rodney that he doesn't want to do it because he doesn't want to come off as soft. He don't want to disappoint Rodney, right? This is like his father. So um, now Strike has a brother named Victor, right? Strike has a brother named Victor, and what Spike was doing in this film, Spike was dealing with duality, dealing with polarity, right? Polarity and duality in this film, as far as when you see the Gemini, the two sides, the twins, the archetype, right? The archetype, the good and the bad, the archetype of the black community, the street guy and the clean brother, the street guy and the clean brother. Now these are both brothers, right? Victor and Strike, from the same mother, same community, right? Just like in the black community, you have a lot of street guys and you have clean cut brothers, right? So you got to understand that these two brothers are used in polarity, right? They're used to show you the archetypes of the two black men between Chris Rock would say uh niggas and blacks and niggas. Elijah Muhammad said that the white man created the nigga, right? So you got two types of brothers in this community, and in this film, these two brothers represent that. Victor represents the clean cut brothers, right? And Strike represents the street niggas, the drug dealers, the killers, but they're brothers in this film. So Rodney wants Strike to do dirt for him, right? He wants him to catch a body, but Strike doesn't want to do it, right? And we seen Rodney try manipulation tattoos, psychological tactics to try to use to make Strike feel bad about not about committing this homicide for him. He wants him to commit this homicide for him, right? But Strike doesn't want to do it because Strike doesn't want to come off as soft. So what Strike does, one day he's at the bar talking to his brother. He runs into his brother Victor. Victor just got off work. Victor has a family. Victor is upright citizen in the community, right? Everybody loves Victor, outstanding citizen in the community. He doesn't hurt nobody, don't harm nobody. All he want to do is go to work, come home to his family and his beautiful wife, take care of his mother. And anyway, um, he's at the bar one day, right? He's at the bar having a drink. He runs into his brother Strike. Strike runs into Victor, and they have a drink at the bar, right? And in the midst of this, Strike begins to try. We seeing it again, right? Psychological tactics, reverse psychology tactics on his own brother Victor, right? He's telling Victor that about this guy up the street who's a drug dealer, right? Who's doing stuff to kids, right? He's telling Victor, hey, yo, he a bad person. He be doing this to kids, right? Yo, he gotta go. He gotta go. He gotta take him out. And he asked Victor to take him out, right? Which is kind of odd, you know. And Victor is drinking. You could tell Victor's stressed out, right? Because you got to keep in mind that in this community, right, the good person, right? Remember the song? Pastor Troy had the song. What if heaven was hell and vice versa? Yeah. Well, if I told you to go to hell, could you tell I cursed you? Yeah. It's classic down south, you know what I mean? But that deals with uh what if your God was the devil? You know what I mean? As far as in the sense of the fact that in the community, the people that are doing good, right, and doing everything right by the book, they're the poor ones. They're the ones with less, right? So Victor goes to work every day, makes an honest living and all that, but he's stressing. He's the one suffering from the bills. He has no money. He has, you know what I mean. He has more stress on him. He's doing everything right, but can't catch a break, right? However, Strike, his brother, the street guy, doing everything wrong, right? But he's the one with the money. He's the one with the car. He's the one with the clothes. You get my point? So that's what this is dealing with also, right? So we're seeing Victor stressed out from that. He's taking shots at the bar. He said, yo, man, take it easy. take it easy. Yo, Strike tell him to take it easy, right? He seems stressed, but he tell him he want Strike anyway. Strike is trying to convince him to catch his body, right? And after like 2 minutes, you know what I'm saying, when Strike kind of see that Victor like, oh, he might do it for real, you know, Strike just kind of tell him, hey man, don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. You know, so Strike never does it, right? The drug dealer ends up getting unalive, right? He ends up getting unalive. Next thing he's unalived, right? So the police come and pick up Victor, right? The police come and pick up Victor. Victor is a clean cut brother, right? Victor is a clean cut brother. Now we bring in Harvey Keitel, the legendary Harvey Keitel. You know what I'm saying? He plays the cop Rocco, the racist cop Rocco, right? And the racist cop Rocco, when he comes to the community, he's a homicide detective, right? He's a homicide detective. He deals with this case. And as he looks into this case, he sees the polarity. He sees the duality, right? He sees Victor and says, Victor's clean cut. Victor goes to work every day. He asks about Victor. He does interrogations on people about Victor, and he asks questions. And everybody said, man, Victor wouldn't hurt a fly. Victor shows up on time every day. Victor does everything by the book. He would never do this, right? However, Victor has a brother named Strike, and Victor's brother Strike works for Rodney Little, the big time dope boy, right? And so Harvey Keitel wants his mind, his racist mind, cannot unsee that well, his prejudiced mind cannot see that a clean cut brother like Victor could do this. So his whole thing is to put this case on the brother Strike, get Strike to confess, you know. So that's one angle going on. Now we also in the film learn that, as remember that this film deals with the innocence being taken from the children, right? The innocence being taken from the children. Now we watch Strike, right? The victim becomes the victimizer. The victim becomes the victimizer, right? As we know, Rodney was took in as a child and showed the game by Rodney, right? Brainwashed by Rodney, right? Now we see a young Strike. We see Strike, right? Take in Shorty, young Shorty, right? His name is Shorty Tyrone, but his nickname is Shorty in the hood, right? Uh, Mekhi Phifer's character Strike takes a liking to this kid, right? He sees him. He ain't got no haircut. He got on some weak shoes. You know what I mean? So he take the little man out and take him to go get a haircut, bomb some video games, bomb all this stuff, and his mom, his mom immediately starts flipping. Right? She starts flipping. She comes out, starts flipping. Who gave him this haircut? Who bought him these shoes? Who think my son need no dad? Who think my son needs a daddy? Right? She don't play that because and one thing she emphasized when she came out and she seen all the young D boys on the bench. Right? She said, "I knew all y'all when y'all was young and innocent." Right? That's a indication in the film that Spike is trying to reiterate to let you know that this film is dealing with the innocence being stolen, right? The innocence in these young children in these communities being stolen, being taken away by the adult drug dealers, the adult killers, right? So now Shorty is dealing with Strike as far as Strike is doing to Shorty what Rodney Little did to him when he was little. He's buying them stuff. He's giving them this. He's giving them rewards, and in return, Shorty is so caught up in the lifestyle and the need to be accepted by the guys that he thinks is cool that he starts to become a clone. You see him start to become a clone of Strike, and this deals with the brainwashing. The brainwashing element that we even see in the film Full Metal Jacket, the first half of Full Metal Jacket, right, where the basic training element for as soldiers getting ready for war, right? You have to tear them down to break and build them back up how you want them to be, right? So, a drill sergeant, you reward them. With this soldier, you want to reward them, right? With some soldiers, you tear them down so you can build them back up, right? It's all psychological. It just depends on which tactic works. A great drill sergeant knows that this tactic may work with this one, but this tactic may not work with that one. In the film, Full Metal Jacket, he went too far with the harsh type of brainwashing mechanism, as far as going too hard on Private Pal. Private Pal used to keep the thumb in his mouth, right? He represented the child, and when he got pushed to the limit too far, you know, we seen what happened, right? So you don't want to do it too much. But in this film, Strike doesn't deal with the abuse side of it. Strike deals more with the reward system, right? With the young kids, the same way Rodney does. He rewards the young kids. What do you like? I give you more of that. As long as you do this, right? Flash to now we seeing Strike uh, showing Shorty how to hustle. Right, he's showing him how to hustle. He getting him. He got him in the trains. Strike was in the trains. He get Shorty in the trains. Now Shorty in the trains. Now Shorty dressing like him. Shorty rocking the low fade like him. You know what I mean? Shorty got the 32 like him. You know what I'm saying? He become a clone, and this is what this film is dealing with: the innocence being taken, and you get jumping into that line of becoming a clone, right? The brainwashing that goes on from the adult drug dealers and killers, right? That's stealing the innocence of the babies in this community. Now, in the film Rodney Little, right? Rodney Little, his main hitman is a hitman named Errol Barnes, right? Errol Barnes is a drug ex-drug dealer that used to run with Rodney Little crew, right? But what we learned is that Errol Barnes was the one that turned Rodney Little into how he is now, right? So this is a cycle of a pattern of the victim becoming the victimizer, right? But now Errol Barnes, right, is on heroin. He's heroined out, but he's a hitman, and he's known as, guess what? Guess what he's known as in the community? The child killer. That's what he's known as, right? When you see Strike telling he's telling Shorty like you need to keep your gun on you at all times. He was like, niggas out here ain't playing. He said, oh, you think just cause you little that they won't smoke you? He said, man, Errol Barnes smoked the kids your age, right? So you got to understand that's all dealing with the 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 esoteric side of this film, is that the children are being eaten alive by the adult killers and dealers in this community, right? Uh, what happened to Strike, what Rodney did to Strike, is what Errol Barnes did to him, and then Strike did the same thing to Shorty. So what you think Shorty gonna do, right? So now you gotta. So now the whole film is around another cop, um, named the Giant, trying to save Shorty from this cycle, from this never ending cycle of the brainwashing going on in the community, right? The innocence being stolen in the community. So now Strike, Strike wants to finally get Shorty up off him, because Shorty mom, she didn't play that, and he got a and the Giant, the cop, is in his family, right? So he wants to get him up off him. He wants to get back up, and at the same time, all the walls is closing in on Strike. Harvey Keitel, the cop Rocco, is on him 24/7, right? It's turning the whole hood against him, right? Because he's trying to make it look like he's trying to pin him for the murder that Victor did, right? So the walls is closing in on Strike, right? The walls is closing in on Strike, and Strike is having to, tell Shorty he had to back up off him because it's hot right now. Like, get up off me. Your mom's be tripping. You got a cop. You got a cop in your family. You got to go, right? Now, the whole hood know that Rodney is, starting to look at Strike funny too, because the cop Rocco won't leave him alone, right? So Rodney then sent L. Barnes to do the hit, take out Strike. And I think this is real. Like, this is what I mean by when you watch a Spike Lee film, you have to pay attention to everything, right? In the film, Errol Barnes is heroined out, right? He smoked out, and he's showing up to come assassinate Strike in the hood, right? Uh, Boy Shorty shows up, right? He steals Strike's gun from under the mattress, and he pulls up on Rodney and pulls up. I'm sorry, and part himself. He pulls up on Errol Barnes and shoots Errol Barnes in the chest, right? But what's special about this scene, right? Not that you have a child killing the child killer, right? So you have a child shooting the child killer, right? It's the revenge of the child killer. Uh, However, pay attention to the shirt that Errol Barnes has on when the shooting is happening. He has on a shirt that says "Save the Children." Watch it again, right? He has a shirt that says "Save the Children," and the child Shorty shoots him right in the chest. And when he kills Errol Barnes, he completely kills his innocence. When he kills Errol Barnes, he also kills his innocence. He'll never be the same, right? So this is why um when they get him in when they get Shorty into the investigation room, right? And the giant is tight with Harvey Keitel's character, which is Rocco, right? And they say he's a good kid, man. He would never do nothing like this. I know somebody had to be brainwashing him. I know somebody's brainwashing him, and Shorty don't want to tell. Shorty don't want to tell who did it. So he said, man, hey yo, I had to save Strike, and the giant go in. That's the cop in the family. He beat the hell out of Strike. You know what I'm saying? But because he stole the innocence, right? He stole the innocence of Shorty. That was the cycle, right? So this whole film is dealing with that. Now, I'm not gonna break down every scene in the film, obviously, because we'll be here all day. But we just want to deal with the esoteric side of the film. Also, so when in the end, uh, the walls is closing in. You got Rodney, the child killer. We also see that Rodney has a bunch of strikes. He has a whole bunch of strikes, right? They work in the game. They hang out with him in the pool hall. It's nothing but kids, right? He got games for them to play. He hit them with he let them chill at his spot, right? He's the child killer, the innocence. He does it in the way of taking their innocence, giving them drugs, giving them rewards, turning them into killers and dealers for him, right? So that's his worst crime. They say he don't do the crime. He sent all the kids to do the crime, right? So they loyal to him. They all a hit for him. When we see, like, even with Strike's crew turns on him because they love Rodney so much, right? So yeah, they all brainwashed by, what I'm saying, this guy at the top who hitting them with rewards, making sure they can wear fly kicks, making sure they could what I'm saying, just have enough money to not be the unfly nigga in the neighborhood, you know what I'm saying? So walls closing in on Strike, you know what I'm saying? The police, Rocco is on them heavy, the homicide detectives is on them, Rodney is on them. They coming down on all angles. Rodney gotta escape. I mean, Strike gotta escape, right? Strike gotta escape. Um, but one thing I did want to emphasize before we closed out was that when it finally comes out, right? When it finally comes out that Victor was actually the one who caught the body, right? So the whole time Rodney thinks that Strike did it, and Strike is gonna tell on him. The irony of it is that Strike actually don't know who did it. Strike actually don't know who did it. But since he's the street guy, everybody putting it on him, right? But it was actually Victor who did it. And this is what Rocco, Harvey Keitel's character, finally learns in the end, that it wasn't Strike who did it, right? It was actually Victor who did the homicide. And Victor did it, right? Victor did it because he wanted to take out his pain from being the always the guy who gets stepped on, always the guy who does the right thing but walks away with less in a community full of guys that do the wrong thing, and they get rewarded as far as finances goes, right? I mean, they have short lifespans, right? But uh, as far as financial goes, you know, they're rewarded. And Victor has disdain and hate for these guys, right? So when it was time to, when he finally got the opportunity, when Strike came in with the offer to 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 take one out, for him it was a symbolic, it was symbolic, right? It was symbolic of him for the good black man to finally take out the nigga, for the good black man to take out the street nigga. And that's what that was symbolic of, right? It was symbolic of the good black man taking out the street nigga. I don't know if Spike was trying to say that for the community to uh finally, you know, heal, the good black man has to wage war on the street nigga, right? But that's what that killing was centered around, right? Because it was a killing of a rival drug dealer, right? So he more than likely is also brainwashing other kids. You know what I'm saying? Because in this film, the drug dealers are the they're the victims and the victimizers. It's a cycle of that, but they target the kids, right? So when Victor hears that, oh, he's doing it to kids, he's doing that to kids. You know, Victor sees a becomes a finds an angle to take out all his frustration on this archetype. So you see that the black man kills the nigga in the end, right? And Strike actually didn't do it, you know, and so Rocco was wrong the whole time, and Rocco's face is left to face his own prejudice, right? His own prejudice to say, wow, you know, I mean, I was wrong. He was totally wrong in a sense, you know, but he was basing off the archetypes, right? Man, this good black man, he couldn't do it. I know it was the street nigga who did it. I know it was the street nigga who did it, but it wasn't. It was the good black man that was frustrated with always coming up short, always doing the right thing and always coming up short, right? The good black man that's plagued in a community of uh street niggas who prey on his innocence of the kids, right? And as the film uh dies out, you know, we see Strike finally get to take that train. He loved trains. He used a lot of his drug money on trains. He was still a child. Had a big train set in his project building, project apartment complex, right? Um, and he spent a lot of money on train sets, right? Well, now he's finally able to get on that real train track and leave the community somewhere where he would no longer have to pack a gun. You know what I'm saying? And that's where you see the no more packing, no more packing, no more packing. Um, and I think that's special, right? I think that was a special, a symbolic element to the film. Um, definitely. Also, scientific, scientific in the film. That's that Sticky Fingers character. Yeah, Sticky Fingers from Honest character in the film. He killed this role, right? So in the film, he's part of Strike's crew in the film. He's part of Strike's crew in the film, and, and as the film starts with a homicide, right? Yellow tape homicide. DT pull up. Uh, Spike Lee cameo. It ends with a homicide. This time it's scientific laid out, right? Laid out. Scientific is laid out. Uh, and that's the cycle. That's the cycle. right? It never ends like that train track. It just keep going. It just keep going. And it flash the ending scene. It flashes to, um, it flashes to Shorty. Now Shorty has the train set that Strike had, right? And he's now fully entrenched in the train track. So, maybe one day he could escape the Matrix, right? By way of the train track, leaving this community that preys on his young, right? That's what that was symbolizing, right? Um, so yeah, this was a legendary film by Spike Lee. It's 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 not always watched from the esoteric angle. So sometimes it's overlooked. A lot of the messages are overlooked. Even when you look at a billboard in one of the scenes, also too, like in the music videos, Spike Lee always is like going over the top with the music videos in the film because he wants you. Like, okay, Basquiat, right? Basquiat would write apartheid and then he would cross it out, right? His whole message and his method was crossing it out so you would pay more attention to it, right? You'll pay more attention to that word that's crossed out and look into it. That was Basquiat's message, and using his art, to draw interest to the audience, right? Well, Spike Lee does it in a sense, in a way of, through this film at least, uh, he goes over the top, right? The acting becomes over the top. So when you see music videos in the film, it's over the top buffoonery, right? Yeah, buy this malt liquor. The liquor is good. Big malt liquor billboards, right? Advertising, showing you advertising of selling poison in these communities, and this poison plays a role, right? Malt liquor plays a role. The great Baba Dick Gregory used to say that, right? The malt liquor contains ingredient called manganese, right? Which Dick Gregory said, causes violence, right? It can cause you to become more violent, right? And this malt liquor at this time, you had St. Ives. St. Ives, you had in the hood, you had St. Ives, Mad Dog 2020, Hurricane. You had all these cheap malt liquors that was only sold in poor communities, right? And in these poor communities, they drunk this malt liquor all day, right? And they say that the manganese uh, created more violence, a characteristic, right? And you had rappers at the time heavily promoting it. Even the conscious rappers, Wu Tang, Tupac, Ice Cube, you know what I mean? Promoting this malt liquor and this billboards and music videos and this film that Spike Lee wants you to pay attention to, right? Even if it's a war on, it's a brainwashing. That's also brainwashing, right? Through the music, through the advertisement. So this whole film deals with brainwashing, uh, clockers, you know what I'm saying? Uh, Clockwork Orange by Stanley Kubrick deal with brainwashing. I don't know if it's a connection there. Maybe I'm reaching. However, yeah, great film. You should watch it if you haven't seen it. If you have seen it and you haven't seen it from this perspective, you should watch it with new eyes, right? And then you may appreciate it even more. On that note, we out, family. Peace.